So my TBR is quite long. It consists of this, front and back, and a couple books on these shelves. I used to keep my TBR really low. I wouldn't have anywhere over 20 or at max 30 books at a time, but then I got way more into reading, and as time went on and BookTok became a thing and more books and more series were becoming more popular, this is kind of what happened. So I thought, what better than to show you all of the books on my TBR. Obviously we're going to keep this nice and short and sweet. I'm just going to quickly go over essentially all of them, and I thought it would be good to show you, give you a better idea of the books that I like to read, and hopefully me seeing these books will remind me of what's on here and encourage me to read them. So without further ado, let's get started. So it's currently July, and to start with the book that I am reading, I started this yesterday, Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. This is so good. I started having it. I'm actually really enjoying this. I thought cute, short, it's 300 pages, YA fantasy, something nice and fast paced because I just can't do long books at the moment. I don't know what it is. I've been in a bit of a slump. This is like the perfect little remedy for that. And it's actually really good. I'm really enjoying it. I can see myself like binging this in like one sitting. The first one off the cart is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. Now this was given to me by my best friend. She read it and said it was really good, and I think it's essentially meant to be like a eye-opening life lesson kind of story. It's essentially about an 83-year-old man named Eddie, and he passes away, and in the afterlife he meets 5 people that he knew or passed through his life, essentially changed it in some sort of way or taught him something, and has conversations with them, I believe. It sounds really good, to be honest. It's quite short. It's 200 pages, 208 pages. We then have a very short book, Dancing with Danger by Violet E.C. Now this is essentially possibly smutty. It was given to me by a friend who reads that and pretty much nothing else. Bad boy meets kind of good girl ballerina, and can he face his demons? Can she resist him? That kind of thing. And I just think it's absolutely insane because it is 102 pages long. Excuse the stickers on some of these books, I just haven't taken them off for some reason, and that might be on a few of them, but we're just gonna have to look past that. Next we have What Lurks Between the Fates, which is the 3rd book in the Flesh and Bone trilogy. I loved the first one, really liked the second one. I'm a bit dubious about the 3rd one just because I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about it. I mean, I read the first 2 like over a year ago. I think I really need to read this one and just kind of sum it up and finish it. This is a really good series. It's smutty, it's dark, it's fantasy. You know, they go on like this adventure to get away from the Fae. It's really good though. I am looking forward to reading this, but I'm procrastinating it for some reason. We then have Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. I seen this in the works ages ago, and the blurb just sounded so good. A squire, an immortal, an assassin, old sorceress, and a pirate's daughter. Heroes are gone, but the fight to save the world has only just begun. Are you kidding? That sounds insane. We then have Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is one of those books that was, again, big on TikTok, and I'm just very unsure with romance books that go viral on BookTok, because I'm like, for the amount of people that have good things to say, there's also the same to say bad things. So you just never know. But the flop on this book is stunning. We then have Shadows in the Moonlight by Santa Montefiore. I definitely said that wrong, I'm very sorry, but this sounds right up my street. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, to be honest. I only got it like a couple months ago, but it's essentially about, there's this manor and she senses something hiding in the shadows, and she has to find out what happened to a little boy who vanished hundreds of years ago. But she isn't no ordinary person. She can time travel. And there's romance. So there's romance and time travel and mystery. It honestly sounds like the perfect book. I've read one book by this author before. I think it was called Sea of Lost Love. And that I really loved. I think that was also set by the coast. And I felt like we were constantly like near the edge of this cliff, and it was just so atmospheric. It was the setting that really did it for me, and her writing is just so poetic and beautiful. So when I seen that this was her newest book out, and when I seen the blurb, I was like, I absolutely have to get that. Then we have The Silent Patient. I'm not going to tell you about it because you've probably already heard of it. I know, it's still on my TBR. 2 of my friends have read it and loved it. I'm just so intimidated by it. A woman who shoots her husband and hasn't spoken a single word since that day, and now we have to go and find out why she's not talking. and it just like unnerves me. Like I'm scared. Apparently the plot twist is like massive, and I'm like, I don't know what to expect, but I do really need to read this. Then we have From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. This has been on my TBR for a sickening amount of time, and that is why it's top priority on my TBR. The only other hockey romance that I have read was Icebreaker, and I hated it. I'm sorry. It was so cheesy and so unrealistic. Their lives were just too pretty and polished, and the book itself was just too perfect. Like, I just felt like, you know, when you're reading a book and you come out of the story and you're just reading words on the page, that's what the whole book felt like to me. And for some reason, it's just made me not want to pick up another hockey romance. Obviously, this is a completely different author, but I'm just a bit unsure. You're never going to believe this, but we do then have Wildfire by the same author of Icebreaker, which I've just said I don't like. Ask me why I got it. I won't be able to tell you at all. I don't know. I really don't. But I bought it, and here we are. So I have to read it, because I ain't no quitter. Although saying that, if I hate it that much, I will DNF. I'm trying to not be that person anymore that just forces themselves through a book they don't like. I do it all the time, and evidently I don't have the time to be doing that. I then have Remember Me by Sophie Kinsella, and this is a real throwback to the past for me. This was the first like physical book author that wasn't like a, because you know how Wattpad isn't like a registered story. Like, this is the first author that I read. And I've read, I think, 10 or more of her books. This is one of the very few that I haven't read. We then have Filthy Rich Vampire. This is very much high priority for me just because I feel like I'll love it. Vampires, just say vampire and I'll buy it. And it's just one of those books that's really popular, and I believe it's a series now. And I just have a feeling that I will love this, and it's going to be rated highly for me. We then have 2 Dilly Court books. I did have a third one, but I gave it to my mum, or I lent it to her. This was given to me by my boyfriend's nan. I am not a massive fan of period romances or anything back in like I'm bad. If I pick up a book and I see 1967 or 1875, blah, 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 the minute I see that it's back then, I'm like, okay, and just put it back, because I don't know why. I just don't like them. I never have. I prefer something more modern. But I really want to give these a good go, because obviously my boyfriend's nan gave them to me. I feel like I would feel awful if I just didn't give them a go at all. Moving on down to the second shelf, we have My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I've never read a Tessa Bailey book. She kind of blew up a little bit there on TikTok. She's short, she's sweet. Again, it's some sort of mystery that we're figuring out. So if it's written well, I'm really going to like this. If not, I can see myself just giving it a cutesy little 3 stars and then getting rid of it. This book I got as part of a blind date with a book that my friend got me, and it very much reminds me of Fallen. So I remember watching the film Fallen, and then I found out that there was books based off of it. It's like a 7-book series, which is crazy, and I really want to get it because that's one of my favourite films. But this gives me major vibes of Fallen. I guess it's kind of like Twilight, but with angels instead of vampires. We then have Abroad in Japan. Who's Japan? We then have Abroad in Japan by Chris Broad. Now this is something that I got because I'm obsessed with Japan and the culture and the food and everything, and I desperately want to go there. And I bought this because I thought reading it would make me feel like I had been, or give me a better understanding of being a tourist there, or I suppose living there. This guy was there for 10 years. I don't know if this is non-fiction or fiction, to be honest. I just saw the cover and saw Japan, and I was like, okay, I need to buy it and see what it's all about. But it's one of those that's just been sat on my TBR for so long, and I'm not that intrigued to pick it up. But I have created a spin the wheel of every book on my TBR, and I'm thinking of doing a video where I do that for like a week or 2 weeks, where I spin the wheel and just read whatever I'm given, because otherwise books like this might not get read. So let me know if you'd want to see that kind of video. We then have The Clinic by Kate Quinn. I bought this a few weeks ago in the works, and I'm very much intrigued by this. I do love a little thriller as a little palate cleanser from fantasy sometimes. I can imagine breezing through this. Am I talking too much? I'm really sorry. This is going to be a long video. I'm a yapper. I really am sorry. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. We don't talk about it because I haven't read it yet, and I've read like 3 other Holly Black books, and it's really bad. It's really bad I haven't got to it yet, I mean. We then have A Forgery of Roses by Jessica S. Olson. A fantasy. She's a portrait artist whose paintings alter people's real life bodies. And there's some sort of dangerous murderer on the loose. There's a manor, governor's wife and son who wanted a portrait of him. Not really sure the vibe of this, and to be honest, I'm not really interested in knowing because it's one of those books that's not talked about online, and I can just imagine myself going into it without reading the blurb. We then have The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This I wanted to read for so incredibly long, like so long. And I didn't buy it because it was super expensive, and then it recently has gone down in price a bit more. So instead of being like £12, it's like 10. But it basically gives Hunger Games vibes, but with vampires. And I did start it a little while ago. I got 60 pages in and temporarily put it back on the shelf. This is one of those books I definitely feel like I've just got to dive into, and it is very much going to be either 5-star incredible or it's just going to be very average to me. We then have Devil's Queen. Now this I picked up in a secondhand bookshop. Don't really know what much of it's about. It is set back in the day, but for some reason, I don't know what it is about this book, but I just want to read it. I don't think it's even romance. I genuinely think it's just a woman who is overshadowed by her husband's mistress because she can't bear children, and she resorts to the dark arts of sorcery to win her husband's love and to try and enhance her fertility. It just kind of reminds me of that series, I forget what it's called, Rain. Does anyone know Rain? It just kind of gives me vibes of that, so I'm interested to see what it's like. Serpent and Dove. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. The fact that Sarah J Maas has a recommendation, or a review, sorry, on it as well, really makes me want to read it. But it's the fact that the blurb is so basic. Like, there's nothing describing the story at all. And it's so long. Like, I'm just very intimidated by this book. It's not even that long. It's 500 pages, but I'm just a little bit intimidated. Godkiller, same as Serpent and Dove. I'm just very unsure. I don't know what the writing's like in this. If it's anything like When the Moon Hatched, I'll really enjoy it, but if not, I'm just very unsure. But I mean, this one is a lot shorter. Witches Steeped in Gold. This I bought years ago, 4+ years ago. I bought it with a voucher because it looked good, and I'm just such a fantasy girl through and through. Like, I'm fantasy, like to read a little bit of romance in between my spare time. The odd thriller kind of once a month, once every few months, but I am a fantasy girl through and through. And this just sounds, I just love a story with a badass FMC. Like, I love it. I eat it up every time. Assassin, done, sold. She's some sort of like vampire cross, or she's like hiding, or she's like masking who she is to step into a place as a queen or something. Like, I just love it. And this is about, I think, 3 powerful witches or 2 witches. Just sounds so good. I don't know why I haven't picked it up, because now I'm like, okay, I want to read this now. We then have Renegades, and this I'm very excited to read. Yeah, this is YA dystopian, I believe. I'm guessing it'll be very much Divergent vibes. Yeah, so I'm intrigued to see if I like this. On this bottom shelf down here, I have the entire Shatter Me series, including the novellas. Please don't judge me for not having read Shatter Me yet. I'm just very intimidated. Are you sensing a vibe here? But someone scream at me in the comments to read it, because I seriously need to. And also on this bottom shelf, we have Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Now, Cassandra Clare is one of those authors that I think if you see it, you need to buy it. I got this for Christmas a couple years ago, and I just still haven't read it because I'm just very unsure if I'll like it, and I don't want to DNF it. So I'm kind of waiting to be in a position where I'm like, okay, I want to tackle this beast because she is chunky. On this side, we have The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. I read The Flat Share a few years ago when I was getting into reading, so quite a few years ago. I think I've been a reader for 6 years now, maybe? That's insane. Anyway, and The Flat Share was the first book I read by Beth O'Leary. It was also the first book I read, I think, when I was branching out from Sophie Kinsella, because obviously I just breezed through all the Sophie Kinsella books, but I was still convinced for some reason. I was like, yeah, but I might read other authors and just hate reading. Like, this might be it now. I've enjoyed Sophie Kinsella, loved her, ate all her books up. What if this is it? And then I read The Flat Share, and it was incredible. I loved it. I don't know if I'd feel the same going back and reading it now, but I've also read The Switch, hated it. It was so basic. I couldn't stand it. Got too scared to pick up The Road Trip, but then I seen this one and the premise of it sounded so interesting that I just couldn't resist. So we've got 3 women who are expecting a date with 1 man. So we've got 1 man, 3 women, 3 dates, and suddenly he's gone missing. And I guess we're kind of figuring out where he is. Sounds very good. I love a romance that has a little twist of a little something something. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited about that one actually. Why have I not read it yet? We then have Belladonna. This, I'm more intimidated than any of the other books to read because I don't know what it is. I think it's like a dark academia, gothic romance, and there's wealth, desire, and betrayal. So, will I ever pick this up is the question. Again, needs to be on the wheel. Next we have A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. I read A Witch's Guide to Fate Dating a Demon and loved it. It was so whimsical and cute and just a perfect little palate cleanser, and I think I'm really going to enjoy this one, to be honest, especially because the character, the FMC, is also a bit of a badass. Now this I was given as a present from one of my friends. I read, or I tried to read, Once Upon a Broken Heart and DNF'd it. I feel really bad saying that because it's renowned in the BookTok world, I feel like, but I couldn't get behind it. It was a bit too young adult for me, if you know what I mean. Young adult for me can be very hit or miss, so it's kind of made me a bit unsure about this series, but apparently you're meant to read this before Once a Broken Heart anyway, so I don't know, we'll see how we feel. This one I'm honestly thinking of unhauling. The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. I read The Thursday Murder Club ages ago, really liked it, but was a bit confused by the end. I don't think I was following very well, and I didn't really know who the murderer was at the end. I don't know what happened there, but you know, I just think this is one of those books that I don't really need to read, and I might actually give it to someone else. We then have Thieves' Gambit. Now this sounds up my street, and it's like a heist, like a sort of game, and you have to not fall in love and you have to keep your wits about you. It's an international competition to be crowned the world's greatest thief. Does that not sound so cool? I just feel like I'm the only person in the world who hasn't read all of these popular books, and I really need to. We then have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I love Ali Hazelwood. I've read almost all of her books, and this is her first fantasy, I believe. But we have werewolves, and we have vampires, and we have an arranged marriage. We then have Booked on a Feeling by J.C. Lee. This is a book that I was given by my friend. She loves very light romances. I don't know if I'm going to love this one, but I do want to give it a go. We then have More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I'm not going to say his name just in case I get it wrong. I loved the first one. It felt like a hug. There is no other way to describe that book when I read it other than it felt like a hug. It was so good. It was so sweet and wholesome, and I'm very excited to read this one. We then have another Marissa Meyer, Heartless, which 2 of my friends have read and loved, but I just don't like sad books, and knowing that it ends sad and not the way that you would want it to has heavily put me off. But I do really want to read it because I think I started it once and I really liked the writing, but I just need to commit and actually read it. We then have the 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. I've read Corrupt and it was just that, really. I don't have words, really. It was so disturbing and so baffling. So I'm kind of a bit unsure about the rest of this series, especially Kill Switch with Damon, because so far I do not like him at all. But this is everyone's favourite in the series, so I'm really confused. And I'm not typically a dark romance girly, so I don't know why I bought the whole series, but I feel like I have to commit now. Another video on reading this series, maybe? For the next shelf, we have A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft. This might be one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. I hate people on covers, but obviously because they're like cartoons, it's not so bad. All I know is that it has candlelit balls and gowns, and that's all I need to know, quite frankly, because right up my street. We then have Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden, and I very recently got this, like a week or 2 ago. I don't know if this is a new novel for her. but I have only read one Frida McFadden book so far, and that was One by One, and I rated it 5-star. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it, and I fear I'm on a bit of a Frida McFadden kick, or I just want to read more of her books. So this one sounded incredible. It's about a woman who commits a crime and goes on the run to try and escape, but then a snowstorm means she has to come off the road, and she stays in this motel which has a questionable past, and in the house across the road is the motel owner's ailing wife who's always at the window watching. All she needs to do is stay the night and she's gone the next day, but that's if she survives the night. It sounds so good. Sarah Adams. That's all I need to say. If it has Sarah Adams on it, I'm buying it. I love her. The rule book, 5-star. The cheat sheet, highly rated, can't remember what, but I loved it. I don't really know the order. I think this is part of a series. I thought it was a duology. Apparently it's a trilogy. I'm a bit confused. And this is book 3 or book 2. So I don't know if you have to read them in order, but I just absolutely adore her writing. So I know I'm going to eat this up. We then have Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. And this I got because it was on sale, and it actually sounded really good. So it's about a fake medium who helps a farmer with his haunted goat farm. So it's kind of like a weird, unique sort of storyline, and it's a romance, and it just sounds really good. We have another Frida McFadden book, which is The Inmate. I am so excited to read this. You don't understand. I wanted this to be the first Frida McFadden book I've read because I was looking for it for ages and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I knew they were selling it at the works, but I couldn't find it in any of the ones I was going to. And then I found it, but I ended up reading One by One first. But this one just sounds like so crazy and so cool. We then have a cutesy little slice of life vibe, life lesson about friendship story. It was 50p, so I thought I'd give it a go because it is 160 pages long, and I think it's like written in email format. So it's slightly different to your traditional book layout. We then have The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. Now this is absolutely beautiful. I love the dust jacket on this. This, alongside a few others, was given to me by my friend, and it's not something that I would typically pick up, but I want to try and dabble in other kind of, not genres so much, but other books that I wouldn't typically read, just to see if I like them, just to experiment and try something a bit out of my comfort zone. It's essentially about the Honey Witch and this woman who becomes one, or wants to become one, and she does. The only thing is you can't fall in love, and I forget what the saying is for it. I believe this is sapphic romance. I'm not 100% sure. It's basically this other girl trying to convince her, because she doesn't believe in superstitions or anything like that, and she's trying to convince her that she can fall in love. And it's basically, I've been told by my friend, cottagecore vibes, and that's all I needed to hear, really. We then have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. Danielle. This sounds, apparently it's ACOTAR vibes. It sounds very good. We have a very strong female protagonist. I think essentially she wants to be like a fighter, but she's married to a man who very much won't let her, and in that time period you weren't allowed to anyway. I'm not 100% sure what this is about, but it just sounds so good, and it's fantasy, and we have a badass protagonist, so what more do we need? This could be a very highly rated one from me. This is The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. Absolutely stunning. The cover and the actual hardback itself, it's just unreal. It's so gorgeous. Even if I don't like this book, it's still getting a very honourable place on my shelf because it's so beautiful. It gives me Once Upon a Broken Heart vibes, but in a good way. Does that make any sense? I just love like these next three, like that one, like this is just the vibe that I want. We then have Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. Assassin, Immortal, Spy, Codename Fortune. All I need to know, really. Like genuinely all I need to know. Phantasma. This is very anticipated for me. It obviously blew up online. Again, same sort of vibe as The Serpent of Wings and Night and Thieves Gambit, like a game, a contest. I've heard it's smutty, but I'm not 100% sure. The cover's just unreal. I then have all 7, I believe there's only 7, books in the Royal Elite series by Rena Kent. I've never read Rena Kent before. I obviously know she's very popular, but my friend gave me this series. She really enjoyed it, I believe. I'm very unsure. We'll see how I feel. I also have the entire Frost Industries series, which was gifted to me by that same friend. She loves dark romance and she is trying to convince me to jump on board, so we shall see. I am intrigued though. And then we have Blood Orange, which I'm really excited to read. It's demons, fated love, a witch who then tries to kill him. She like comes back in one life as a witch to try and kill him, and it just sounds so good. And it's smutty. Oh, I'm just so excited to read all these books. I wish there was more hours in the day. That is all the books on my TBR cart. I then have the whole Selection series. I also have the Red Queen series, which I have read Red Queen, but I haven't read any of the others. I'm currently listening to the audiobook of Glass Sword, but I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I also have The Maidens by the same author of The Silent Patient, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which I've heard a lot of bad things about, so I'm very unsure how I'm going to feel about these. But there's actually a coffee shop or some sort of cafe near me that looks exactly like the one on this cover, and I'm very intrigued. I don't know why, because every time I see the cafe I just want to read this book, so we'll see how cringy it is. We also have Fantastic Land by Mike Bokoven. Thriller set in a theme park. Sounds very good, and it's also nice and short. We then have Docile, which is a book I'm not 100% sure about, but it's got something to do with capitalism, and I believe it's quite an intense story. But I am very intrigued because I've never read or heard of anything like it. We then have Midnight in Everwood and The Kingdom of Sweets, which are two stories inspired by the Nutcracker. I don't really know anything about the Nutcracker, not that fascinated by it, but I am going to give these a go. I then have Jack the Ripper and Hunting Prince Dracula. Very dubious of these, very unsure if I like them. It genuinely could go one of two ways. And then we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. This is, I believe, a sapphic romance as well. And it's set in a school, isolated and ancient, and it's dark academia with an academic rivalry, and just sounds very autumnal. I might save this for autumn actually. So that is every book I have on my TBR at this moment. I haven't counted, and I don't know if I want to be honest, but I hope you enjoyed, and please comment down below any thoughts about any of these books, whether I should get rid of them or if I absolutely need to read them. And let me know if you have any favourites that you've seen in this video. I'm very intrigued by a lot of them, but also very intimidated by others. I think I am going to do a video on the reads I'm most intimidated by. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.